Hello, everyone, and welcome to this version of STA Open Call. STA Open Call, for those of you who aren't aware of it, is brought to you by the STA Foundation, a 501c3 corporation that serves as STA's educational arm. Nothing said on this call or any call by STA should be considered investment or legal advice. Our only intention here is to provide education. Okay, now on this open call, we're going to be covering extended hours trading, or more commonly referred to as 24-hour trading. Now, we're going to assume that many of you have a basic understanding of 24-hour trading, that we're talking about that 8-hour gap between the after-hours session and the pre-market session for the next day. And the purpose for us wanting to just make this assumption is that we just want to kind of get down to some of the real current state and some of the recent developments that have taken place in this area, which seem like they're kind of coming out on a regular basis. In particular, for example, yesterday's Charles Schwab's announcement that they will be offering 24-hour trading for over 1,000 stocks and ETFs to their clients. Okay, so here with us today is Brian Hyndman. Brian is the president and chief executive officer of Blue Ocean Technologies, which is the operator of the Blue Ocean ATS. Which operates in that 8-hour time gap that I just referred to. Now, previously, before joining Blue Ocean Technologies, Brian was the president. Oh, excuse me, Brian was the senior vice president of Global Information Services at Nasdaq OMX Group. And a little fun fact about Brian is that he holds a bachelor's arts degree in psychology, which probably becomes useful for dealing with people in our industry. So, Brian, I want to welcome you to the open call here today.
Jim, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, good. Well, why don't we just start with a general state of where 24-hour trading is today? If you could just kind of give a sense of, how many ATSs are in it, some volumes, and then also if you could also touch on the infrastructure. Have there been any technological improvements either in the compliance or customer safeguards area?
Yeah, so, and you'll hear this theme a lot. I still think that we're in the early innings here, call it the first inning of the overnight space of trading US equities. Blue Ocean went live back in 2021. We had the first mover advantage for many years. You now start to see other alternative trading systems come into the space. It's early days for them, at this point in time, but you see two other ATSs out there, and you see and hear that the exchanges want to get into the space of trading, call it 23 or 24 hours a day. With that being said, Blue Ocean has been doing it for 4 years now. We've made, substantial inroads into the broker-dealer community. We have in excess of 50 brokers signed up, subscribed to the Blue Ocean ATS, and we have over 110 market data subscribers, either here in the US or globally, located in 20 different countries. Now, when it comes to the infrastructure, that's going to start to change a bit. So at one point in time, it was only Blue Ocean. We had our alternative trading system, matched orders and price time priority. We were our single island, call it. Now we have other players getting into the space. At some point in time, we're going to have to introduce a smart order router in the overnight space, right? If an order comes to Blue Ocean and there's a better price elsewhere, we'll go ahead and route it out. We'll always check our book first. But that's where I see this space going, call it in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, right? As these pools grow, they'll start to get integrated together, much like the ECNs did in the late 90s.
That's great. I didn't think about the smart order router as far as like that being like another next step to be keeping an eye out for as this area continues to mature here. Listen, obviously, I think a lot of the people on the call, they're aware of the benefits and also some of the risks tied around 24-hour trading. Obviously, some of the risks you were talking about, just market quality and state of liquidity. Could you spend like some good time here just talking about some of the new areas of investor growth? Are the primary users are on the platform? Are they still mostly retail? And any other details you can kind of have around market quality and the state of liquidity today versus maybe a year or two ago?
Yeah, before we get there, I'll just touch base on some of the compliance and risk items that you outlined, right? So, there is there's this concern about lack of liquidity. If somebody puts an order in, it's going to rip through the book. So we only accept, and I believe all the other ATSs only accept limit orders. So you're only going to buy or sell that particular security at the price that you indicated. We've also recently signed up with the Aventis platform for surveillance, right? We want to make sure that we have the highest level of surveillance on the Blue Ocean platform. We want it to be, we call it exchange grade. We're an alternative trading system. We run on the MEMX technology. We want to have a strong, robust surveillance program too. So know that.
Mhm.
So getting back to new areas of investor growth. Early on, all retail flow coming on the platform, right? Early adopters were the guys from Robinhood and Interactive Brokers, and now you see firms like Charles Schwab and Webull and First Trade and others on the platform. So again, it's still, I would say, 90% retail. We see some high frequency, players on the platform. We're also starting to see hedge funds and institutional players come on the platform, and we think that will accelerate half of the year as we get our data distributed by one of those large players out there that cater to the buy side.
What about market makers in the space?
Yeah, so market makers have been, key for our success here at Blue Ocean. From the early days, we always had guys like Jane Street and Virtue making two-sided markets on the platform. Today, we have about 8 different market makers quoting on the platform in some way, shape, or form.
Have there been like any like studies or reports that kind of that show where stocks are trading? I know it's going to sound crazy, like where they close overnight and then where they open on traditional markets in the morning. Like, have there been any? Because that's obviously some of the biggest complaints, not complaints, the observations or comments that we hear from folks is that the overnight sessions are, it's a lot of volatility. The quotes are wide, and the prices when they open the next day are not indicative of where they were trading in the overnight session. Are there any reports out there, any comments you can have in that area?
I mean, I don't have any specific reports. I'll leave that to guys like Larry Tabb and others
Yeah,
that will generate those reports. But,
yeah,
just broadly speaking, right? Prices should change over the weekend, right? There's new information, there's new data points that come out. The prices are going to move with supply and demand, right? And with news. So we see a lot of changes where they close on Friday night and where they're opening up on the exchanges on Monday morning. One example is NVIDIA with the DeepSeek announcement that came out a couple of months back, right? That came out over the weekend. It closed in 140s on the exchanges, and then it traded down on Blue Ocean overnight. And I think it opened up at around
yeah.
134 at 4 a.m. on the exchanges. So if there's news, you're definitely going to see some shift in pricing overnight, over Sunday night into Monday morning.
Hmm. Um, but I would be curious, like the shifts and sometimes in the prices don't necessarily equate to there being like large amounts of trading activity, right? I mean, sometimes the price reflects the news, not necessarily, you know, that investors are transacting at those prices. All right, why don't we just pivot though to something else a little bit more? I'm curious to get your thoughts around. Obviously, we have 3 exchanges that have, well, or actually 4 that are have filings out there before the SEC to get into this place. Prior to Blue Ocean, you had a long career at an established exchange, so you have a good sense of what it takes to operate one. I mean, how do you see the exchanges coming into this space? I mean, do you see it as like an overall positive in that they're kind of creating a rising tide, or do you kind of see this being more of a competition, or both?
Yeah, first of all, I think the competition, in the overnight space is a good thing. We welcome the other alternative trading systems that are live today. I think that's just going to create, more competition, better pricing, better product in the end for the end user. Now, the exchanges, I view that them getting into the space to be a positive. Also, I think that that's going to be, like you said, rising tide. I think it's going to create a pie that was this big, and the pie is going to get this big over time because the exchanges are getting into the space. We hear that from our subscribers around the world. They're excited to see the exchanges come into the space. They think it's going to drive more volume into the space. With all that being said, though, I think it's going to be some time before the exchanges get into the space, right? There's a variety of items that need to be worked on and completed before they're allowed to start trading 23 or 24 hours a day. That includes getting the SIP operating 23 hours a day. That includes 24-hour or 23-hour trade reporting. That includes DTCC going live 24/5. And then the real thorny issue is corporate actions and how the brokers can go ahead and make the adjustments for the corporate actions in this condensed time period, call it an hour from 8 to 9 at night, right? They're going to have to adjust prices, adjust orders, reduce or increase the shares in customer accounts. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I welcome the exchanges getting into the space. I just think it's going to take a little longer. The entire world is looking at us here right now. And I think the SEC and others want to get it right, and we will. It's just going to take a little more time.
Right. Yeah, so I do want to ask you I want to ask that question that we kind of talked about before we hopped on the call here. And that's really kind of a question that I kind of face when I'm having conversations with firms in this area that they're trying to really understand how much activity is going on in this space, because they're getting calls and demands from their bosses. Like, I'm hearing a lot about 24-hour trading. What's our solution to this? Should we be getting into the space? But when they look internally at their own firm, they're not hearing the demands from their clients to get in it. They're also not seeing really assets maybe move. They're not like seeing accounts being closed down because they want to go to a broker dealer that offers this. Obviously, we're talking about firms here that they're predominantly U.S. based clients trading in U.S. securities. I mean, what would you say to them? Like, listen, you should be getting into this space because eventually it's going to be tapping into U.S. clients, and you want to be competitive, or like, how would you handle that conversation?
Yeah, I would say it's already happening. It's just to a small extent right now.
Hmm.
If we use, the baseball game, we're in the first inning right now, maybe approaching the second inning, right? So we're doing 40, 50 million shares a night. A year ago, we were doing about a half a billion in notional in any given night. Now it's, 1.5 billion in notional on any given night. As I said earlier, we got 50 plus subscribers on the platform. A variety of them are allowing their US customers to trade, overnight. And that could be from 8 to 10 or 8 to 11. It could be when they get up in the morning. It could be just when there's a news driven or episodic event. But with that being said, the vast majority, I think, of our business comes from Asia Pac.
Hmm.
It's the firms and the retail users on the other side of the globe that want to have access to US stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, and Microsoft during their daytime hours. It's really both. I would answer it. It's the US customers that want to trade on the edges when there's episodic events, and also the other side of the world that wants to have access to trade our stocks real time.
Hmm. Okay, that's a fair answer. I mean, I know even myself, there are some times on a Sunday after watching all the news shows on Sunday that I want to fire it up and see where some stocks are trading there. Let's talk just a little bit about the future. I mean, and in our world, like 1 to 3 years out, if we're having this call a year from now or 3 years from now, I mean, what are you kind of seeing that's going to be different? Do you think any other asset classes are kind of moving to this timetable?
Yeah. I would before I get into that, I would say on Sunday night, if you're going to bed and you check your phone before you're going to sleep and you see that the futures are up or down, you're wondering where certain stocks are trading, you can go to Yahoo Finance.
Yeah.
Yahoo Finance now carries Blue Ocean data. So you
Oh,
can
there we go.
actually go there from 8 to 4 in the morning and see how stocks are trading.
Okay.
So where is the overnight space going? Listen, I think the entire I think all asset classes are going to get there sooner or later. The London Stock Exchange just made an announcement that they're strongly looking at it. We have equities trading 24 hours a day right now. There's a lot of demand to trade US options 23 and 24 hours a day on the other side of the globe. We're in the first inning. I think in 3 years, it might not look dramatically different, but in 5, 6, 7 years, it starts to look a lot different. I think we can get up to 1 billion and 2 billion shares a night. I think the demand is that big. We have our data being distributed globally by firms like ICE, Refinitiv, and Active, Yahoo Finance, and a variety of others around the globe. I think it's early days. It's going to change slowly over 3 years, but as we get to 5, 6, and 7 years, it's going to look dramatically different. And we're going to see, billions of shares being traded in the overnight.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, so I'm gonna leave this here. We usually have this call go a little bit longer, but we're gonna cut it here because obviously this is going to be a topic at the October conference, and we want to save something for October on this. So I want to thank you for coming on and joining us today, and thank you for everyone for plugging in and listening. And again, we're going to be talking about this topic down in DC. We're happy to have Brian participating on the panel, and it's actually going to go. It's going to be coupled up with the panel on tokenization. So obviously, we intentionally kind of avoided that topic for this call, just to kind of just focus on the more of the traditional markets. But we are going to be talking about tokenization, and then followed by the overnight sessions here. So Brian, once again, I want to thank you for coming on. Thanks for taking time out and to spend with our listeners.
All right. Thank you, Jim.